Hey everyone, and welcome to week 5 / video 2 of my series R Cubed on the Sustainable Development Goals, which were put together by the UN with collaboration from their 193 member states and their 17 goals to make the world a better place. And Canada was a part of that collaboration, so I think it's important that we understand the goals at the very least and hopefully work them into our lives. And to do so, I'm not just going to be looking and seeing the facts. We're going to be making it personal by seeing the people in the issues and also seeing the big picture. So the first goal is poverty. And the UN, this SDG is quite lofty. End poverty in all its forms everywhere, which is just unbelievable. And it speaks to the loftiness of these goals and to the fact that if we want to make any movement on them, we all need to be motivated and all need to work together. What are the specific targets? Each SDG is based from 2015 to 2030. So the targets all have a 2030, or most of them have a 2030 deadline. The first one is eradicate the population living on $1.25 a day, which is in extremely impoverished situations. And then by 2030, have the population that is deemed impoverished by each nation. So, for example, Kenya relies on the $1.90 a day poverty line, but Canada doesn't. Canada relies on the low income measure that we deem as 50% below the median income of the country. So we're any country, independent of their measure of poverty, whatever it is, everyone's deciding, okay, we'll reduce it by half. So what are some facts on the issue? Well, globally, 767 million people are living on less than $1.90 a day. That's $693 a year. So in my mind, I'm automatically thinking, well, that's about 2 hockey sticks, not even anymore. And that's about Starbucks Frappuccino once every 3 days that I've realized. Now I've found out that they're about $5 each. But seriously, why is this a problem? Well, before globalization, it wouldn't be seen as such a problem, or in my head, it wouldn't be as much of a problem because you're not dealing with inequality. But now, because so many people are working for so many other people around the world, this distribution of wealth and distribution of work that produces the wealth is so connected. So when we talk about 1% of the world's population owning 50% of the wealth of the world, that's saying some people are not being paid what they're actually the worth of their work. And 1%, you might think, oh, those darn billionaires. Well, if you have $1 million net worth, you're in the top 0.7%. If you have $100,000 net worth, you're in the top 7%. Again, this globalization can be seen in the fact that 95% of all of our apparel sold in Canada comes from overseas. So someone is putting in the work somewhere else so we can reap the benefits and not getting the benefits that they deserve. So it's just unjust. So again, those are some stats. You can find way more, but how can we see the people? Well, speaking of the products, are we seeing the person working hard in terrible working conditions? When we pick up a shirt that's on sale, half price, and already cheap to begin with, are we thinking, whoa, does this make sense? How is it this cheap and it's come from China, let's say, or Indonesia, or Taiwan, and it's, oh my gosh, how does that price match up? Well, often it's the workers on the other end who get the short end of the stick. Even that idea, just seeing the person behind it. And then also when I think about $1.90 per day, I always think, well, that goes along a lot further in the developing world or a low-income country than it does in Canada. Well, yes, but not so much. The cost of living in Kenya is only 50% less than Canada. So that it's not, versus our income level, our median income, which is an order of magnitude less. So 10 times less. Gas costs right around $1 a liter. Internet is $60 a month. Milk is $4.50 a gallon, and daycare is $240 a month. So out of the $693 a year you have to spend, you can not even make 3 months of daycare costs. It's just unfair. The situation, the setup we have right now is just unfair because these people are working our economic well-being in the West, in the developed world. Unfortunately, it's not just on our own hard work. It's built on built on the backs of others, built on the foundation of the work of other countries, other people who are not getting fair wages. So even just from that fairness standpoint, it feels like they deserve more than that. And that's why poverty is a problem. But there's also something further, because I think that is a view focused on having. I have, but he should have. So that idea of, well, okay, we'll make it, equality will come when you have enough and I have enough and they have enough. And I'm good with you having if I have. And it's focused on the me, it's focused on the self. And Jesus actually, in the Bible, has something to say, a questioning or a challenging of this. He actually talks about a life of giving versus a life of having. And he says, you can't do both. So he says in Matthew 6:24, you cannot serve two masters. You can serve mammon, which is lust and greed, a personification of that idea of possessing and wanting and owning me. You can serve mammon or you can serve God, which, coming up to the Christmas story, I think is the overwhelming concept of giving of yourself, giving fully, as he gives his son. Whether you believe in the story or not, that act of giving himself. You can only do one or the other. You can live a life where you worship the obtaining of things for yourself, or you can live a life giving of yourself fully to other people. In a book called Life of the Beloved by Henry Nouwen, actually, he talks about this kind of life of getting and where it gets us. And this is a great book. Everyone should read it. Aren't you, like me, hoping that some person, thing, or event will come along to give you that final feeling of inner well-being you desire? Don't you often hope, may this book, idea, course, trip, job, country, or relationship fulfill my deepest desire? But as long as you are waiting for that mysterious moment, you will go on running helter-skelter, always anxious and restless, always lustful and angry, never fully satisfied. You know that this is the compulsiveness that keeps us going and busy, but at the same time makes us wonder whether we are getting anywhere in the long run. This is the way to spiritual exhaustion and burnout. This is the way to spiritual death. It's crazy what he claims. And this is just an echoing of Jesus' words. It is harder for a rich man to get into heaven than a camel to fit through the eye of a needle. It is harder to get into heaven for a rich man to feel that new life, that joy, that peace. It's very hard, not impossible, but it's so hard if you're focused on what I can get out of a situation. And Henry Nouwen goes on, that it is harder for a rich man. Those are Jesus' words. Talking about it further, going into it further in Life of the Beloved, Henry Nouwen says, we often live as if our happiness depended on having, but I don't know anyone who is really happy because of what he or she has. True joy, happiness, and inner peace come from the giving of ourselves to others. A happy life is a life for others, loving others. That truth is just amazing. That perhaps if we complete, it's not even about the equality of, okay, good, now you have enough and I have enough, okay, we're good, because no. What can I give you? What do I have to offer you? That motion, that visceral movement towards giving yourself, giving your time towards other people, I think that would just completely wipe out this concept of poverty or maybe not, but just the huge economic inequality in the world. It would have huge effects. He goes on to express his belief in giving. This is again Henry Nouwen in Life of the Beloved. Our humanity comes to its fullest bloom in giving. We become beautiful people when we give whatever we can give. A smile, a handshake, a kiss, an embrace, a word of love, a present, a part of our life, all of our life. Oh, just so beautiful. Whatever we can give, that idea, if it's not about how much. Actually, Jesus talks about it, watching a beggar give a couple coins, and someone who is very wealthy, has no care about the money they're giving. And he compares the movement of the beggar to give those coins, and that idea of giving herself, all of herself, in this case it's monetary, but all of her possessions to other people. It's way more about that feeling than how the X amount, or okay, I've done it, so good. It's that motion, that engine, that what drives you is that wanting to give to others, rather than, okay, let's get to a point where we're level, and that's good. So how shall we live? We can look at the facts. You can look at tons of poverty statistics. You can watch Living on $1 a Day, which is a great documentary that makes it a bit more personal, what it actually looks like in the developing world to live that way. More personally for you, you can acknowledge and understand and be grateful for what we have been given, you have been given. I think the more and more you practice gratitude, that attitude of gratitude, the more and more you feel like, oh man, this is so not my stuff. This is so not my blessings in life. I don't own any of these. I want to share with other people. And then it also reveals, what do you really need? What really matters to you? So even if you just stop at the equity level, the equality level, it will make you realize, oh my gosh, I don't need all this extra stuff. I love this. I love having this stuff. I want to put I don't need this stuff. So that's the first step. But then I challenge us to think about, well, can we take it a step further? Can we look at this life of giving, that the first motion is not, okay, secure me, so then now I can, no. The first step is towards others. The first step is to give ourselves to other people. And a few practical examples right now. Well, what do you have? What do you have to offer? Who are you? Are you educated? Well, that's huge. Tons of people are in need of tutoring. Do you have time? We all have time. Are you willing to give that time, give that part of yourself over to people who need a listening ear, or need someone to be a sounding board for their ideas? Or do you have a talent to share, to bring people joy? Can you give that joy to people? Give yourself to those people in that way. Christmas time, Salvation Army kettles, giving back to your community. Fair trade, think about where the products you're buying are coming from. And then Lend with Care, which is a microfinancing program where you donate to a small business, you get the money back after a while, and then it's credit to pay to another, which is really cool. Anyways, I just want to end off with a cheesy quote from Les Miserables, and it's to love another person. So I want to add in to give ourselves to other people, to fully own that idea of giving, not having, is to see the face of God. Wow, what a challenge. I think that would just have profound impacts on our world, on our individual relationships and the world around us. So I'm excited to talk about it and just see where it could lead. So thanks, guys. Sorry for the length of these videos. It's impossible to not ramble. See you.